You're listening to the N2K Space Network.
Hey everybody, Dave here. Have you ever wondered where your personal information is lurking online? Like many of you, I was concerned about my data being sold by data brokers. So I decided to try Delete Me. I have to say, Delete Me is a game changer. Within days of signing up, they started removing my personal information from hundreds of data brokers. I finally have peace of mind knowing my data privacy is protected. Delete Me's team does all the work for you with detailed reports, so you know exactly what's been done. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/N2K and use promo code N2K at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/N2K and enter code N2K at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/N2K, code N2K.
One thing we can all agree on in the industry is that space is expensive. From design to R&D, production through launch, the cost can run well into the millions of dollars. But the costs don't stop once spacecraft reach space, and for satellites, there's the cost of returning data to Earth. That's where ground stations come in, and to build and maintain them across the world to effectively support missions doesn't always have to be the job of the launch companies. Welcome to T-Minus Deep Space from N2K Networks. I'm Alice Carruth, producer of the T-Minus Space Daily podcast, and our host Maria Valmarzes will be speaking to our guest. Our guest today is Jai Dialani, Managing Director of Leaf Space US. Leaf Space is an Italian company specializing in ground segment as a service solutions. Its mission is to simplify satellite communications by providing managed services for satellite operators.
I lead the sales and business development for the US market. So I run the US office essentially for Leap Space. We are an Italian entity. So we are based in Italy, Milan, Italy, 10 years since inception. I've been working for Leap Space about 4 years now. Before that, I was at AWS Ground Station. And before that, I was at several companies, but my satellite career started with Iridium and then Orbcomm. So I've been in the satellite communications business for over 11 years now.
That's fantastic, and I've spoken to a number of those companies before. Those are all great names and great orgs to be working with. So definitely super interested in learning more about Leaf Space also. So maybe to kind of set up the premise here, ground segment as a service. Can you sort of give me the overview of? I have a general sense of what that means, but I'd love to hear from you. Just what should I know about ground segment as a service, as someone who has an understanding of, what ground segment does and the need for more capacity. But beyond that, that's sort of where my understanding ends.
Absolutely, I'll be happy to help you. Because when I was new in the industry, when I joined AWS on the ground station side, it was a new industry to me as well, because I primarily come from the terminal market, the products, the terminals that the users use in different markets, be it recreational maritime, be it industrial mining, be it land mobile, or be it aeronautics. So I come from that world, being at Iridium and Orbcomm, driving a number of those product lines. So it was new to me, and one person placed it really succinctly that satellites are up there in orbit, and you are communicating with them, but there needs to be a link where all that data can come down to Earth from the satellite. And that's where ground segment comes in, which is essentially serves as a backhaul or feeder links, as they also call it, technically speaking, where there's a bunch of antennas And as the satellite passes through or over a ground station, it communicates with the ground station antenna, gets commands from it, downlinks all the data, onboard data, to the ground station so that it can be processed further. And this data can be anything. There's a number of applications: Earth observation, um, Internet of Things, narrowband or wideband satellite communications, whatever. But the gist is the ground segment is comprised of mainly large antennas, large dishes that communicate with the satellite and then bring all the data down and then pass them on to the customer. These antennas are usually quite capex heavy. They're quite expensive, not only to procure but to install and maintain around the world. So the ground segment as a service concept really takes the capex out of it and converts it into an opex equation for the companies, for the satellite operators. So what the ground segment as a service providers do is they procure these antennas, they deploy them, they operate them, maintain them, and then sell the capacity, the antenna capacity, to the satellite operators. So the satellite operators, they just focus on launching their own satellites. They do not have to worry about the ground segment, and they pay the ground segment service providers for as much capacity they utilize on their network. So for them, it's really becomes, they don't have to invest additional resources, additional capex into infrastructure that is not of primary nature to their business model. It's a must have because they need to bring the data down. But having ground segment as a service, now they can streamline the cost structure and then focus on their core business, which is launching the satellites and specific payloads on it.
That makes sense. Yeah, traditionally I would imagine it was a sort of a bundled situation. You needed to have all these things sort of lined up in place before you could move ahead with your mission. And now, especially with the huge proliferation of satellites we see in all sorts of sectors, but just the sheer number that we've got, I can't imagine. I mean, capacity for on the ground is definitely always a concern. It's a growing concern, and I imagine that this approach can help really alleviate that. Where if you're launching a satellite or a series of satellites, you don't have to also figure out how you, as you said, to have that investment for a ground segment. But yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts on that capacity question, because that is something that I know is a really pressing issue, is trying to figure out who you can downlink to, I think. Right? I mean, how what are your thoughts on that?
There's several facets to that question. So I'll answer it in three ways. One of them is, we cannot install ground stations or antennas anywhere around the world where we want. There's countries that are embargoed. There are regions that have extreme weather conditions where installing an antenna, providing connectivity to it, to providing power to it is almost impossible. So there's only a limited number of countries where we can install the ground stations. Second is the coverage. The real, I would say, benefit of using ground segment as a service provider is the ground segment as a service provider is focused on setting up as many antennas throughout the world globally as possible. So the more the regions, the better the coverage, the more opportunities there are for the satellite operator to maintain contact or have contact with these antennas and be able to command the satellite or download the data. And the fresher the data, the more importance it has. They can sell it at the premium. Now, having said that, the third part is regulatory challenges. If they were to deploy their own antenna, South Africa, as an example, right? Now they have to get permissions from the South African regulator to operate the antenna. They have to deal with that additional overhead and burden, which LeafSpace as a ground segment as a service provider alleviates that burden as well, because where we deploy our antennas in different regions, we also obtain regulatory authorizations so that our customers can start operating over those antennas right away as soon as the antenna is operational. So we take that burden off of the customer, and that's been one of the biggest pain points for all our customers launching satellites.
Absolutely. So I can imagine the flip side of using a service that is not solely dedicated to a mission would be tasking or scheduling. So my understanding is you all have a really interesting solution around that. I would love to hear more about that because that one I imagine is a big question for a lot of folks.
Yes, and right from the start, what we have done is we have defined our architecture natively in a software-defined fashion, so that it's configurable. And since every customer of ours, there is, I would say that every mission is different. Every mission's requirements are different. Like for example, if there's an Earth observation provider, they may need a pass every orbit. If there's a new provider which is launching a technical demonstration satellite, they only may need 1 or 2 passes per day, and they may only need a backhaul or bandwidth of like say less than 20 Mbps, for example. Earth observation might need a really high data rate downlink. So we need to comply with all these different requirements and be sure that the ground station can satisfy these requirements for all our customers. And you see there's different types of missions going up now. Earth observation, remote sensing, there's orbital transfer vehicles, which can do maneuvering between orbits. There's technical demos, there's narrowband satellite communications, there's wideband satellite communications, wideband as in like very high, ultra high data rates. There's a new crop of satellites going up that are involved in rendezvous and proximity operations, RPO operations, as well as in-space manufacturing is becoming a new target as well. So each of these missions are so specific in their requirements from the ground segment. We look at all these requirements. We collect all these requirements from different customers. We collate them. We come up with different capabilities, different feature sets. And being natively software defined allows us to do that quickly. So we have in-house software development guys that develop or enhance our software-defined radios that are residing on the ground station, because every satellite has a different radio on board, has different communication requirements. Having the software-defined radios on our ground stations allows us to configure them on the fly in real time. The other aspect of being software-defined is we have an automated network scheduler, which runs on the cloud and automatically schedules contacts or visibilities, as you call it, across all our ground stations. Currently, we have 26 ground stations over 17 locations, and we are expanding at a very rapid pace. We closed our Series B last year. It was around $40 million US dollars.
Congratulations!
And that has
That's great.
fueled. Thank you. It's been a big help for us to be expanding our network. Not only that, we have seen US as getting a great foothold in the US market, which globally, as you know, US is the leader. So we have had a tremendous amount of success in the US market. So we have had a bunch of contracts, bunch of new customers signed up since the past couple of years. And we are flying over 100 satellites on our network. So the number of satellites on our network is just increasing, and handling or providing the capacity or the service to all these satellites is only possible through our automated scheduling platform that we have been operating. We have a patent on it as well. Allows us to just snap new satellites right in, have them interface or utilize the ground stations without much of a lift on our side.
We'll be right back.
Defense contractors face immense pressure to comply with CMMC 2.0 security standards, needing a secure, user-friendly file-sharing solution. Kiteworks, a FedRAMP moderate authorized solution, supports nearly 90% of CMMC 2.0 Level 3 requirements, reducing compliance effort and cost. Kiteworks leverages a zero-trust framework for swift compliance and offers a secure platform for defense data protection needs, with advanced security features and ease of use. Its intuitive UI, mobile apps, and centralized policy management simplify administration. Accelerate your CMMC 2.0 compliance and address federal zero trust requirements with Kiteworks' universal secure file sharing platform made for defense contractors. Visit kiteworks.com to get started.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Yeah, and that's very cool, and especially that proprietary scheduling it makes a lot of sense given what you all do, and that's a really neat capability. And I was looking at also some differentiators. You all mentioned zero trust security architecture, and that makes me happy as a cybersecurity person just to see that get a good mention. Again, given you all are very software focused, also that makes a lot of sense that you can bake that in. I imagine that's also a serious requirement, given that you work with a lot of different customers, to have that security baked in.
Increasingly, yes. Cybersecurity is becoming a big part of our offering as well, and we are actively looking at what needs to be done on the cybersecurity side. So we have an inherently we have a zero trust architecture. So even if we get hacked, the customer's data is still protected. And we are looking at the different standards across Europe and North America as well. ISO 27001 and in Europe, and the NIST 800-171 in the US. So we are in the process of getting those certifications, compliances. So that's we do view that as a big requirement of especially the defense. Defense requires us to be compliant with these standards. So also our customers who are serving the defense markets.
Absolutely, it makes a lot of sense. It's a definite, absolute need there. Well, you mentioned also, last year you all got a Series B, which is fantastic news. I'm curious, as you all continue to grow, maybe what the vision is for long-term growth for you all at LeafSpace.
So that's a great question, Maria. The vision for long-term growth is to provide as much coverage to our customers as possible, not only in LEO orbits, which is primary. Most of the customers are now that we are serving are in LEO orbits, operate in LEO orbits, but we do have plans to serve the GEO orbits as well, because we see a lot of the new space companies going into the geospace for geo servicing missions, or orbital transfer vehicles going to the geo belt to drop off the customer satellites, or to perform rendezvous proximity operations, refueling operations. So there's a whole bunch of crop of them that have very specific requirements around geographic or geosynchronous or geostationary belts. So we are looking to expand into that market. Then we're also looking to expand into the cislunar market in the near future. There's optical on the horizon as well. It's taken off for inter-satellite links now. We're still waiting on the maturity of optical ground stations as well as space to ground links. So once there's maturity over there, and once we have customer signals, the demand signals, we will proceed with deploying optical ground stations as well. And natively, LeafSpace is focuses their attention on what the customers tell us. So we operate on customer feedback, and if the customers tell us, "Hey, go give us optical ground connectivity," we'll plan to do that. Because now we see increasing number of missions in the cislunar space from the private sector that has been a government only initiative in the past. So that's another area of interest for us. So near term and immediate attention is on putting many more ground stations around the world. So from 26, we want to expand to 40 and then to 45 or 47 by the end of 2025. And then even more after that. And all depends on the demand signals from the market. So one example of that is a lot of customers are going into the KA band, which provides high data rate downlink capability especially for Earth observation customers. So we have activated our first KA band ground station in Iceland in the past couple of months. And then we will be deploying 2 more KA band ground stations in Punta Arenas, Chile, as well as in one in New Zealand. Then we have plans to deploy another one in Alaska as well, and then a couple more locations. But that really depends on the customer feedback and the number of KA band missions that will be flying in the near future.
A lot of really cool plans in the works there. So I'm wishing you all the absolute best as you continue to grow and your capabilities continue to serve new markets. That's very exciting stuff. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today. I want to make sure I give you an opportunity to wrap up. If there's anything else you wanted to mention before we conclude, now is your opportunity.
Oh, no, thank you so much for the opportunity. One thing I would say is, we over the years, we have learned a lot from our own mistakes, from what we have seen in the market. We have evolved rather rapidly, and we have quite a few differentiators that differentiate us from other providers in the market, where our focus is on providing a turnkey service, be it for dedicated antennas for the customers, be it for antennas that are shared between the customer's satellites, or even pricing. We include all aspects of the service, including getting licenses for the ground stations and backhauling all the data for our customers from the antenna to their endpoints in a single price per minute, which has turned out really well for us. Our customers really like that. They really like the simplicity of our service. We like to compare our service with driving a car. The car is we open the hood and you don't know what's what. There's a lot of wiring underneath, machinery underneath, but all you care is the steering wheel, the brakes, and the accelerator. So those are the controls that you operate the service with, and that's what we have been striving to provide to our customers as well.
Fantastic. That's a very easy to understand metaphor. So thank you for that. I like that. Leaving us with that one. I like it.
Thank you again for your time, Maria.
That's it for T-Minus Deep Space, brought to you by N2K Cyberwire. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. You can email us at space@n2k.com or submit the survey in the show notes. Your feedback ensures we deliver the information that keeps you a step ahead in the rapidly changing space industry. T-Minus Deep Space is mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester, with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our associate producer is Liz Stokes. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Our executive editor is Brandon Cuff. Simone Petrella is our president. Peter Kilpie is our publisher. Our interview was conducted by Maria Valmarzes, and I'm Alice Carew. Thanks for listening.
This September 18th and 19th in Denver, a tight community of leading experts is gathering to tackle the toughest cybersecurity challenges we face. It's happening at MWise, the unique conference built by practitioners for practitioners. Brought to you by Mandiant, now part of Google Cloud, MWise features one-to-one access with industry experts and fresh insights into the topics that matter most right now to frontline practitioners. Register early and save at mwise.io/cyberwire. That's mwise.io/cyberwire.